Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. I know this says dry ager built for beef, says so right on the front, but inside here I have some pork. I went down to see my friend Jamie, the butcher, and we got this beautiful piece of pork from him. And it's been sitting in here for just about 30 days now. Let's cut it open and see what happened. Now, I had Jamie leave the skin on the outside just to protect it a little bit while it was drying. And we've got some pretty good pellicle forming on the ends. And not really any mold. Right, so 30 days in the dry ager, I wasn't expecting or looking for any mold. I wasn't expecting or looking for any sort of funky smell or funky flavor. I was really just looking for an intensification of the pork flavor and also a change in texture, making the meat softer. Now, when I put this in the dry ager, the boys at Eater from the Meat Hook in New York hadn't yet released their video. They have, in the meantime, released their video, so I've got a better idea of what to expect from this cut. I'm not really going into it as blind as I had hoped. So, first things first, let's cut this up into chops. Okay, so I've already cut off the first chop. Pretty heavy pellicle on this side, and I'm going to cut this meat out, trim off the pellicle, and put the meat and the fat in the freezer for the next sausage making exercise. In the meantime, I'm just going to follow down just between the two ribs and cut the next one. And I need to use a little bit of saw here on the spine. There we go. Look at that. Smells amazing. Okay, I'm going to cut off the rest of the chops just by following the ribs. And the only really difficult part is just at the beginning here, getting through the skin. After that, it's pretty simple. And then just that tiny little bit with the saw at the end. And I wish I'd done this on a wooden cutting board. It might not flop around as much. And the last operation is just to cut off the skin and some of that fat from around the outside. Leaving us with a pretty nice looking pork chop. Now, a little while ago, I salted this pork chop. I didn't put any pepper on it. I'll put the pepper on at the end. I've got this frying pan pretty much heated up to sort of a medium high. I don't want it smoking hot. I want it just a little bit less. And there's no oil in this pan. It is pretty much non-stick. And I'm going to put the fat side down first. Render the fat from the side of the pork chop into the pan. And in it goes. Now the temperature I'm looking for is 145 degrees Fahrenheit internal. To a lot of people that's going to seem a little bit on the low side, but you bring it to 145 degrees and then you let it rest for 3 to 5 minutes and the interior is cooked safe. I know that the Canadian guidelines is for a temperature that's much higher, somewhere around I think 155 to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. To me, that's just overcooked. Which makes it dry and tough, which I think is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like pork chops. Everybody grew up with that whole belief that pork had to be cooked to within an inch of its life, which made it dry, which made it tough, which made it flavorless. Pork can be cooked to a lower temperature safely, but of course, play within the rules of where you live and your own comfort level. Now I'm going to turn this probably 3 or 4 times while it's cooking. Cook it a little bit from each side, and then we'll crank the heat and brown the outside. Okay, let me check the temperature and see where we are. 150, so a little bit over where I want it to be, but I think we'll be fine. So, and there we go. We got a nice sear on that. And this is where I will put some pepper on top. Flip it over, pepper the other side, and cover it with tin foil. Hey,
Hi,
Jules.
Glenn. Hey, friends. Wait, what's in the mystery?
So
Hey,
that
oh.
that is the pork that's been hanging out in the dryer for a
I
month.
see we're missing. There's a shelf empty now.
There's a giant empty hole. So it is a 30-day dry-aged pork chop.
wow.
Let's cut that open and see how
That's
it
a
works.
big pork chop.
That is a good-looking pork chop.
Let's switch spots.
Okay. Not sure the best way. Come in around the bone. There we go. Take the bone off. And let's see, you ready? Let's cut that tail off. And we'll cut a couple of pieces through the middle. Can you smell that?
I can. I'm gonna get forks.
That smells like no pork chop I have ever had before. Okay, so cut these down a little bit smaller, bite size. No pork chop.
I see you plan on having more than one bite.
I might have more than one bite. Okay,
That's a good tasting pork chop. There's a lot of flavor there.
a lot of flavor there. Yeah.
But just like the dry aged meat, it isn't that soft, melt in your mouth kind of thing. It's
There is a little bit
there's
of,
a little more chew to it.
you have to actually chew
It's not
it.
tough.
No, it's not
I
tough.
mean, don't confuse the difference. You actually have to chew it, but it's not tough. It's very good.
I'm going to try this piece down here. Oh, I'm going to try, let's cut that piece. And I want to try a piece with some fat.
Here, I'll just have a regular piece.
Okay. I gotta say, dry pork should be a thing.
It should be a thing.
It should be a thing.
I feel like the juices that are there when it's on the meat. I suspect you could have done something really nice.
Could have
with
done a really
the,
nice pan sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there was enough going on in the pan.
Yeah.
There's enough going on here in this pan that you could make a steakhouse grade pan sauce to go on the outside of this.
Yeah.
Mushrooms, shallots, maybe a little bit of cream,
Okay.
brandy.
Yeah.
So, if you get a chance to try dry-aged pork, I'd say go for it. Demand that your local steakhouse starts to carry it. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon. It's really good.